able to line up the marks along the edge of my jig, and this is the 1/2 inch end of the nail. And then I line up the other edge, and my saw blade runs right along the edge of the jig, and that's how I get my cut tapered the way I want it. It takes a couple of times. You might have to adjust it, one end and then the other. Just double check yourself, make sure it's where you want it, and give it a try. Okay, we got the first one cut. It's 2 1/4 on the top, 1/2 inch down on the bottom. It might be just a hair more than a half, but that's okay. I'm going to use that for the template to cut the other two. These longer up and down part of the nail cross are a little bit longer than the side to side ones. So I cut 3 of these, and then I'll switch up my jig to cut the side to side pieces. Well, we got those pieces cut for our cross. I got the 3 for the uprights, that's these ones. And I have 6 of these for the sideway, I guess what you call it. It's going to go like similar to this. And then we'll cut a 1/2 lap on these as well as these. We'll put those together and we'll run a 1/2 lap through it like that. I'll probably go ahead and do just a little bit of sanding. I like to round these edges over just a little bit so you have a distinguished edge of the nail, I guess you'd call it. And I'll also do that on these edges so that it's just a little more pronounced when you are all finished with it. So we'll do the sanding. I also have to cut the ends. There's an end that goes on each one of these. And I'll have to take a measurement because I don't recall offhand what those were, but I'll let you know what that is. And each one of those will get an end put on those. And then once we get that done, we'll glue the 1/2 laps together and let them set up. And we'll probably do the engraving after that. And then we'll do the finish, which is a torch that I use. Let me show you my prototype over here. So this is my prototype. On this one, the upright was a little longer than what I make them. I decided to change that so it's just a little bit shorter. And if you can see the tops of these, that's replicates the head, I guess, of the nail. Like I said, this is the prototype. I ended up rounding those over more so they look a little better. But you can see this as the 1/2 lap on the middle here. And I think I rounded my the ones that I've been selling over quite a bit more than this, so it's a little more distinguished and you can see what it looks like. So got these sanded down. I've sanded the face of each one of them. I touched up the back just to knock any debris off of it, I guess. But I got the edges rounded over. Let's see if I can zoom in here. You see how it distinguishes the edges here when those line up. They'll look more like an individual. All right, I got the cross pieces of the cross glued together. I used Titebond 3, and I used a little bit of the Star Bond medium thickness of the CA glue. I didn't use any activator, really didn't need to. It was warm enough today, but I put a little light clamp on these. I'll let them set off to the side. I'm going to go ahead and move on to cutting the frame pieces next. I have my stop block set up. This one is for the longer edges of the frame, 15.5 long point to long point. The other ones are 13.5 long point to long point. And I'm using 1x2, just stock 1x2 that you can get from your box store. I ripped down 2 pieces of scrap 1x6, I believe it was, and I ripped it down to 2.5 inches. The top of the nail is 2.25 inches, so I made these 1/4 inch bigger so they'll overhang just a little bit on each one. And this will be the head of the nail. I'm going to cut those next over on the miter block saw. We'll set up a stop block so they're all the same, and probably double up on the cuts, the pieces that I cut. And we'll get those done. Then we'll go on to working some more on the frame. I didn't mention those are 1 inch pieces, so they'll be the 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch rather bigger than the top of the nail. So these are going to be 2.5 inches by 1 inch. I got my setup block here, stop block. I'm going to cut those. Make sure when you run your saw like this, make your cut and let your blade come all the way to the stop so you don't have any pieces kicking back on you. I have my table saw set up to cut a 3/8 by 3/8 rabbet in the bottom side of each one of the frame pieces. I laid them out here. I kind of went through them and picked out the best side to leave towards the top of the frame. And then I got to remember that when I run these through, that the short side of the miter cut is going to go up against my fence. So as long as I remember to do that, we should be good. Okay, the first one I run through, I got the short side of the miter up against the fence. I ran that through. Now I've got my groove cut in here. Now, when I turn this around this direction so that my groove now faces the fence and my long point is pointing up towards the blade. So I'm going to run those through and show you what that looks like. So here's my piece that come off of there. You see I got a 3/8 by 3/8 rabbet in there. That's going to accept the plywood panel that fits down in there as a backer board. And then we're going to run those through. Just keep in mind when this little piece is cut off, it can kick back. So make sure you're standing off to the left side of this saw blade. So if that does decide to shoot back, it's not hitting you. Just be careful and it'll work out fine. So I got the rabbets cut in the back of the frame. That'll let the plywood set down in there and it'll be flush on the back. And just in case you're wondering, I have chopsticks for sale. Okay, just kidding. Here are the pieces that replicate the head of the nail. They're just those 1 inch blocks that I cut. They're 2.5 inches long. And I'll glue these onto the end of each of the nails. The next thing we're going to do is put our frames together. I have the nails glued up and drying. And so we're going to put these together. I'm going to glue them. I'm going to use my Senko nailer. I'm going to use a 1 inch brad nail on these. I'll nail in from each side of the miter with some glue on each one. We got 3 of the 6 put together. Here's the brad nail that I put in each corner. Each one has one from each direction. The next thing we're going to do, we'll get my sander out. I'm going to do a light sanding on the frames. And I also got my torch out, and we'll do a little bit of burn on the frame and the cross part. I'm not quite ready to do the crosses yet, but I wanted to get these done so I can get the backs put in them. And this part is kind of your personal preference on how dark you want to get this. Just keep in mind, wear your safety PPE, I guess, leather gloves. Make sure you have a fire extinguisher on hand just in case. I wanted to mention also that this is the back side of the frame, and I'm going to go ahead and give that a finished burn, just like the front, if it was the front or the inside. I want to make sure that when the customer picks it up, turns it over on the back, they're like, oh, they took the time to do the finish also on the back. That's kind of nice. We got those burns done on these frames. And I guess just one thing I could say, add to it, would be go back over everything the second time just to help even things out. Next thing, we're going to put the backs in these and get those set aside and move on to cutting the half laps in the crosses. So, okay, next thing, I got my miter gauge set up here. I got my digital angle finder. I'm going to put it up against my fence, and then I'm going to put it up against my saw blade. And that's going to give me the angle. Then I lock this down. I already did, but I lock this down. That locks me in place. The half laps are going to be on the front side of the taller piece, the longer one, and on the back side of the cross piece that goes crossways this way. That way, when we're together, they'll set in here like this. So I got to set the saw blade to half my thickness. It should be right at 3/8 of an inch. These are 3/4 pieces, but I'm going to double check that, and that way I can get them exactly halfway mark. Well, I think I'm ready to do some glue up on the nails. I'm going to use the Titebond 3 and some super glue, the medium thick Starbond CA glue, I guess they call it. I also have my pin nailer out. I'm going to put 1/2 inch pins in it. That's different than a brad nail. Obviously, it does not have a head on the pin. And we're going to kind of get these put together. I got them in sets just so that they fit a little better together. We're going to put some glue, wood glue, and the Starbond on there, and then pop a couple pins in it. I'll take the CA glue, and this just kind of helps it speed up the set time for this. It's not necessary. I'm going to put a couple drops on there. Take the wood glue. I'll tell you what, sometimes these are hard to open. Get some wood glue on there. I do got a little tick mark on each side of their pencil mark, and that just tells me for sure where I need to be at. Let that set for just a few seconds with that CA glue, and I can flip it over. And take my pin nailer and just shoot a couple pins in it. So that's what we end up with. We're going to engrave on this section right here of the nail. We're going to take that over to Red Dog Laser. They're going to engrave blessed on these 3. I have 3 others that are in the projects, in the works rather. And they have people's names engraved right here. That's kind of neat. Here's the second one. We got it put together. And we got one more to do. Then we're going to go over to Red Dog Laser and have them do some engraving for us. And here's the last one. I don't know if you noticed, but on my prototype I made a X across here with some twine. Just kind of adds to the rustic look of the nail. I like the looks of it. But we're going to do those also like this. We're going to engrave these next. We got to put the heads on the nails. We'll come back here and glue them and put a pin nail in those as well. I'll change that from a 1/2 inch pin to a 1 inch pin. Okay, we have our layout for Blessed. You'll notice it's running left to right. That's so when it engraves on the cross, it's going to be in the right orientation. So I have the center marked and the origin set. That's where the center of the word blessed will be. And then I run a couple of frames on it just to make sure it looks like it's in the right place. We're going to go ahead and get that started and see how it turns out. Okay, it's going. Zoom in a little bit. Exhaust fan sucking the smoke up through the top. Through this vent right here, it goes to the outside. According to my preview, it's going to take about a minute to do the blessed, and there it's finished. Every laser is different, even the same models with the same wattage of tube. I have my speed set at 13 and my power set at 42. I want that fairly deep. This is pine, it's soft, so it'll burn a little different than a hardwood will, but you can kind of see how deep that is. I'm going to say maybe not quite 1/8 of an inch deep in it. I'll take these into the shop over next door here and get the soot sanded down. It won't take very much, but here we have the 3 finished ones. We got these sanded down, got the soot off of them. They turned out pretty nice. I got the heads of these nails. They're going to go on here like this. Just kind of makes them look more like a nail, I guess. These are a quarter inch, 1/2 inch longer this way than the nail itself. So it sticks over the edge just a little bit. And I'm just going to eyeball them. I'll get the glue opened up here. Put a bit of glue on there. Put a couple drops of CA glue on there. That'll just help it set up faster. I got to remember not to get it out past the edges of these. I don't want that glue sticking out there. I'm just going to kind of press and hold it there. Just for a few seconds, let that CA glue set up. Get the brad nailer over here. Like I said, I don't sure this is going to do anything, but we'll just pop a couple in there. I'm hoping that it goes down in there deep enough that it'll penetrate. So, and there, we're almost finished. We're going to put that twine on here, cross that over, and then we'll be ready to mount those on our frames that we made. Okay, we got those torched. I did use the same torch, propane in it. And I had one spot. Let's see if I can see which one it was. I'm not even sure. Maybe this one right here. It was a little dark down here on the D, so I took my sander. I just buffed that off just a little bit and took the torch back to it. It all worked out fine. Be sure you use your gloves. Make sure leather gloves. That does get pretty hot, so just be careful with it.